The animal nature of the animal can only be determined if it is clear what constitutes the vitality of life, the vitality of the livingness. The vitality of the living precisely in contrast to the lifeless. First, as what is the essence, the essential abiding of life to be determined at all? Second, how is the living as such originally accessible? How does the living originally unconceals, disclose, comes forth into unconcealment? What is the performativity of the living? What is the performative trait, the performativity of the event? In order to be able to talk about life at all, what determines the animal as animal, it's essential to refrain from scientific empiricism, from any scientific worldview, from the scientific worldview in general, according to Heidegger. In order to enter about this relation, we have to do it about or through the question of the living as such, but at the same time, we have to leave this question open. In quotation mark, something we have to do in order to talk about the animal, in order to then be able to talk about what the world's worlding consists in. How does it come about? We always already have a problem with the accessibility of the living as such, addressing the animalness of the animal, the plantness of the plant, the worldliness of the world, if these things are to be described in their essential abiding. But when we make these distinctions and rely on them, we necessarily have to ask this question, but we cannot answer it conclusively. So we are in need, according to Heidegger, we are in distress, in sheer affliction, to go through and repeat a problem, a problematic structure. A problem is problematic qua not being fully present, nor being fully absent, nor being both at once, but rather being an event. These are the categories we find in the world: animal, human, stone. Heidegger's claim goes as follows. It goes along with being able to describe certain phenomena, appearances, that they exist and how they exist in their performative trait. Maybe we have to say it this way differently. The question about the animal leads to the question after and of the world. Technology precisely unveils this original phenomenal place, opens it up in a way that it finds itself disguised at the same time. At once, being unveils itself, thus shows and gives to show, renders visible, but at the same time does not unveil and conceal itself into this openness in such a way that it is actually there. It rather has to be addressed and expressed, grasped, and in some situation and moods. Anxiety, a part of being, actually breaks open. In order to name the concrete animal, we have to describe what the being of the animal is, what it consists in, where it gathers. To refer to the being, i.e., but beings as a whole. The beingness as a whole is included in the question in every metaphysical questioning. But we will always miss something with it. Keyword is beingness. We will always miss something essential, says Heidegger. This leads us to the fact that being, with a big capital B, itself does not appear where the beingness is, or where we concede beingness, where the concrete beings and the beingness are spoken of. In parentheses, they require a different language, custody into the word. We ask about beings abiding, thus not about this and that specific being, but about the stone as such, the liveliness as such, the moment that connects or brings a nexus and a gathering of these three: animal, stone, human being. What actually brings, let in, together such sense-oriented sentences that take up and harbor in language this is, take it to the expression. What happens when man articulates himself through language and this is? In the liveliness something is addressed that does not concern us alone, but in it something else, another place, another reference draws open, spans open, another relation of reference and thus relation of happening, of occurrence, of occasioning is addressed. At the same time, the being of language functions, in quotation marks, without pointing, referring to the being of an entity. In parentheses, this is also a possibility that language offers us, that language grants us, that being grants. What does it mean when we can notice that being shows, gives itself to show via language in its differences and as a difference, as an abyss, but it does not stay away and not say itself? Must this be traced and followed to a primordial essential category that does not comprise a series of innumerable determinations, this kind of grasping of language?